to all of us here at Tejaswini's Tarot. And how has been our last week? Navratri energies, the energies of the equinox, the Mercury retrograde, solar activity, so many things at the background. So what is the card for this week? So here am I with this card, and it's called number 5 in the major arcana of the Osho Zen Tarot deck, and it's called nothingness, nothingness, shunyata, zero state, void, creative void, I would say. It's a situation where all things disappear, nothing is there, only the ultimate substance remains. Forms disappear, only the formless remains. No definitions, definitions disappear, only the undefined remains. So actually this is a state, this blankness, or this state of darkness or emptiness. It's actually a creative void, and it's full of potential, full of possibilities. It's unmanifest potential happening at the moment. And Osho says, Zen says, in the beginning there was nothing, in the end again there is nothing, emptiness. So why do we all make a fuss in the middle? Why are we so anxious? Why are we so ambitious? Why are we so desperate? Why are we so worried in life? And everything starts with emptiness and ends with emptiness. So what does Osho say? Hello, how are you? Osho says, this is the moment, a very sacred moment, where something absolutely sacred is going to be born. So relax, fall into this space, fall into this silence, treasure this empty moment. Something absolutely sacred, some potential is going to manifest. That's what the Zen perspective on this. So now what does this card actually bring for us in this week? Possibly a situation where nothing is happening, nothing going on. You don't know whether you're coming or you are going, what's happening in your life. Possibly a scary situation. So once again, at this point of time, it's important to again fall back on the Zen advice, which is about relaxing into the moment, resting into this state of where nothing is happening, trusting this space completely, treasuring this space completely, not getting unduly worried or anxious as to why certain things are not happening in my life. Your soul is working towards something, absolute soul work happening, and this is the chance where you can actually, the soul is working on certain possibilities in the background. Something sacred, as Osho says, is going to be born. Now when you look at the traditional tarot, the Rider-Waite deck, this card is actually, the card number 5 is the Hierophant. Now what does the Hierophant mean? He is actually a high priest, a kind of a masculine energy, a spiritual teacher. They also call him a shaman or a pope who works through an organized institutional system. He's a spiritual teacher who actually disseminates his knowledge through a very traditional structure. That's why he's called the pope, or he's a high priest. But in this card, I see a difference. Actually, it's very different from the traditional Hierophant. Osho's number 5 is definitely about learning and a higher spiritual learning, but not through a traditional system. It's about embracing learnings through very non-traditional sources, maybe through a teacher, through a counselor, through a therapist, or maybe a spiritual mentor, or very non-traditional sources of learning, for instance like a blog or a website, something which you may come across and which may lead to a higher state of learning and which you may turn to. So this card brings you the message that there's some learning of new skills, and definitely this type of a person, it expresses the energy of this teacher or this person who has something valuable to teach to others, and it asks a person to take this knowledge seriously and pass it on as if it is sacred and worthy of learning of the others. So in a nutshell, this card is telling you to relax into, even if nothing is happening, relax into that emptiness, relax into that state of nothingness, and something absolutely sacred and righteous kind of learning is on its way for you. So embrace it, receive it, and be absolutely enriched. In fact, Zen has got a very, very beautiful learning on this. Zen tells you to be very, very observant of this gap. They call this the gap, this zero state, this gap. And they say that this gap is between your in-breath and out-breath. So the moment you are in this gap, the moment you are observing this gap between your in-breath and out-breath, that's a huge potential over there. And that's what the yogis aspire for, to increase this gap, to be in the gap as much as possible. And that happens as and when we develop this practice of turning inwards, going inwards. So enjoy this state of nothingness, relax into this state and see what possibilities are opening up for you. Definitely some good learning is on its way. So enjoy yourself this week. Any personal questions, comments, or any personal readings, you can always contact Tejaswini's Tarot, and we shall always be glad to help you. So goodbye for the moment, and I shall see you next week for next week's energy guidance. Bye bye to all those who are watching and all of who will be watching later.